Welcome to yet another informative session of Market Views, a show that delivers an in-depth analysis of Zimbabwe local capital markets. Expert analysts do join us to unpack key fundamentals and technical trends revolving around our local capital markets. Now, the ZSE Holdings, it listed on the ZSE main board on the 9th of July, and trading commenced on the 11th of July, and ever since then, up to date, the count has been trading on a day-to-day basis, closing in the red. This was after quite such a long time when what was actually apparent on the bourse was migrations and delistings. If you were to look from 2020 to date, 11 counters migrated from the ZSE to the VFX. And I think on the 17th of January this year, the Old Mutual Top 10 ETF actually delisted as it saw it no longer viable to list on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. So we just want to look at this, the ZSEH listing on its own main board, what it implies and what possibly do we foresee in the future. Are we likely to see any other new listings? Are we likely to see any other changes in terms of the performance and activity? So these are some of the things that we have to look at. And we are in the season when a lot of counters also have also released their financials. We're talking of the likes of FML, Hippo, Seedco International. And joining me on set today, we just want to look at the listing of ZSE Holdings as well as the performance of Seedco, which saw a 93% surge in the top line, and also Seedco International, which saw a 5% surge in the top line. So to look at this, help me welcome my good friend and a fellow analyst, Desire Mchipisi. Desire, welcome on site.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, sure. So Desire, let's firstly look at the ZSE Holdings, right? Like I've also alluded in my precursor. I think in October last year, Tanganda was actually the directors of Tanganda. They were highlighting their intentions to delist from the ZSE, also to list on the VFX, right?
Yes.
But later ditched the plan, and I think in January that's when they signified releasing a circular that they were finalizing on no longer delisting from the ZSE but making a secondary listing on the VFX to raise capital in USD. Okay, Zimbabwe, as we have seen recently, raising also 30 million, although listed on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, which is the local denominated bourse, but raising capital in USD. The ZSE Holdings is listed on the ZSE main board with a valuation which was made of around between 11 to 14, but the weighted average of around 13 million, right? Yeah. And since its listing on the 9th of July and trading commencing on 11 up to date, it has been trading every day, but it was closing in the red. Yes. So let's start from there. Do you think the listing of the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange holding on its main bourse is actually to attract any possible new listings?
Okay, well, thank you. The listing of ZSE Holdings is actually a major milestone, but I don't think it's a game changer or sort of like a transformation of the stock exchange. Okay. There are a lot of fundamental things that I believe need to be actually corrected so as to attract new listings. Okay. As you have mentioned, for example, that you have OK Zimbabwe that is seeking funds or capital raising, but in US dollars, yes, which means they can't get that from the ZSE. So there's no capital raising incentive from ZSE, and also the currency volatility really makes the bourse less attractive compared to VFX, as we have seen that a lot of companies, they're actually migrating to VFX. So this move, maybe in the short term, we might see a new listing because it's a sort of like it brings some sort of level of confidence into the market, because ZSE is actually the heart of the capital markets. So hopefully them listing will actually see more activity in the stock market. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And like I've also alluded that since its trading date commenced on the 11th of July, it has been trading on a daily basis. Do you foresee this counter being liquid on an ongoing basis, in your view? And is it likely to attract investor appetite?
Well, I think the first day there was a trade of about 1,000.
Yeah,
which shows that it was only retail traders. There are no institutional traders yet. And if you've been tracking it, it has actually been losing value. And this shows that maybe it's too early for us to really judge and say, is it really liquid or what? But maybe for it to attract maybe investors, ZSC Holdings really need to show their strategy, their long-term strategy, and also the value proposition.
Okay.
So that it becomes clear to investors. Yes, of course, there is that sort of an element of a guaranteed dividend somehow, because ZSE mainly gets its business from listing fees, as well as
activity turnover.
Yeah, activity turnover, and there's some also data which they sell, and I'm not quite sure if the training that they do also does bring much in terms of revenue. But if they just outline a clear strategy, I think that way we can maybe see more investors coming in.
Okay, no, thank you. Now, let's perhaps look at the other counters that have released their financials, right? I'm sure you are aware of that for the first half of 2025, two of the sectors that have been performing quite well, that's the agriculture sector and the mining sector. So, yeah, tobacco recording the record level high production ever since in time immemorial, right? And even maize actually delivering, I think, about 2,300 metric tons compared to only 635 metric tons, which was registered in 2024 due to El Nino, by the way. So now looking at counters like Seedco and Seedco International, maybe before we, deep dive into this, let's just look at how do we differentiate, perhaps for the benefit of our audience, somebody who wants to know what's the difference between Seedco, which is listed on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, and Seedco International, which is listed on the VFX. Of course, we know it migrated from the ZSE. It was part of those counters that had been suspended in 2020. What's the difference between Seedco and Seedco International, in your view?
Well, Seedco, like you've highlighted, is actually listed on the ZSE, which is denominated in local currency, and also its activities mainly there within the Zimbabwean economy.
Okay.
Whilst Seedco International migrated to VFX, and it also is activities
regional.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now let's look at Seedco. It registered a 93% surge in its top line to 71 million. Well, how sustainable is this?
Well, that's not sustainable, because this is not a growth per se, but it's more like a spike, because like you have highlighted that in 2024 there was El Nino. So you're more like coming from a poor performance to a performance where the rains actually reached their highest levels. I think, I don't know, maybe for the first time, or it should, so that growth is actually not a growth rate. It's more of a spike, and it's not sustainable. Maybe, if we were to have normal rainfalls, we're expecting an average growth rate of about 10 to 15% thereabout, not 90% or 93%. That's too much. So it's not sustainable.
Okay, but despite this surge in the top line, the bottom line declined by 20%, right? So, why was there a decline in the profitability?
Well, I think this shows that the cost of production increased.
Okay.
And also the currency volatility, whereby you have exchange losses, and and also operational costs were actually high. So in as much as revenue increased, but the costs, or the business was not profitable at the end of the day.
Okay, and okay, now let's perhaps take a segue and look at Citco International. It registered a 5% surge in the top line, and the profitability also surged by 16%. What's your overall assessment on the performance?
Well, I think this is a steady growth, and it really shows that the company is doing well, and this is really sustainable. Unlike that growth rate of 90%, which I said is not sustainable, this one is sustainable, and also the business is profitable, which means they have a good, cost management strategies that resulted to the business making profits.
Okay, thank you, Desai. Now maybe let's just look at this final question before we wrap it up for the day. In the first half of 2025, activity on the ZSE has been quite depressed. I think market cap, it was fairly flat. It was just hovering around 1.5 billion, 1.6 billion. Of course, we know issues to do with the liquidity, right? But this was despite a reduction in capital gains withholding tax from 2% to 1% from the Treasury, which was following a further revision which was made last year in July from 4% to 2%, right? But on the VFX, we started to see some quite positive trends. In April, the total market cap, it reached around 1.34 billion, which it hadn't registered in quite a long time. And the mover there, it was Padenga, which had surged by 62% due to the rallying in the bullion prices of gold, issues to do with global tension, right? So I just want to sense your views as we are now in the second half of 2025. What do you think is going to be the performance of the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, or perhaps what you just think might likely drive activity on any of these two bosses, in your view?
Okay, well, I think VFX is really attractive, so we're expecting it to really continue growing, and we're expecting more counters to come. As we have seen that there are a lot that have migrated from ZSE. So there's really that sort of a confidence, in trading in US dollar, because there's that level of currency stability and yeah. But in terms of ZSE, I'm not quite sure if we're going to see much of a change. A lot of things largely rely on the economy and also the currency stability. But if we are to hold everything par, and assuming that the ZIG continue maybe to sort of like stabilize, I think we might see some activity there, because one thing for sure, ZSE is more liquid than
the VFX.
VFX, sure. VFX largely relies on block trades. While ZSE
from institutional investors. Yeah,
from institutional investors. While ZSE there's that retail traders. They're the one that actually
move the needle.
Yeah, so there's sort of a need to boost the confidence levels of investors, and this can all be done through maybe some reforms from the ZSE, and then that way we can see continued activity.
Thank you. There you have it, dear viewers. Thank you for joining us for this recording. Please do like, share, comment, and subscribe as we release our videos and our recordings every Monday at 3 p.m. Thank you so much for taking your time. We do wish you a fruitful week. Desire, thank you for being live on site.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here. See you next time.
Yeah, sure. So thank you so much. We do wish you to enjoy the rest of your day. Pleasant viewing from myself, Desire, and the crew behind the scenes. We do wish you well. Bye for now.